Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Good morning.
Because it was yesterday I realized that we have people from different time zones, and that is exciting stuff. Thank you, Dr. Edward. Thank you for the opportunity. I do not take this for granted. And I'm going to tell you why I find it interesting that you sent me that message. So I usually don't even go to LinkedIn, weirdly enough. But then I go there and I see your message and, we're here. I'm going to tell you why that message was weird and interesting. But I thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. Thank you, Dr. Israel, for being such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful middleman. I need to come and take notes. I need to come and jot. I've jotted a few things down, but I need to just come and take like a class or two. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who is here. So I'm going to need a timekeeper. I have 20 minutes, right? Or 30? 20.
Yeah, Dr. Toby is with you.
Okay, all right. Because I am a storyteller, I have a tendency to go off. We can be here till night. So it's very important that you please prompt me when I've spent 10 minutes, when I've spent 15 minutes, please let me know. Where do I begin? The power of storytelling. That's what I've been told to talk about. I don't have a presentation, even though I knew that I was going to be talking to mostly doctors. Okay, so first, if you're here and you're not a medical anything, like you're not a medical doctor, medical personnel, medical student, can I see your comments in the comment section? If you're not a medical anything, you just know medical people, but you yourself, you didn't medical anything. Can I see? Okay, so there's Blessing. Who else? Oh, okay, there's one more person. Who else? Please. Oh, okay, so just please. I want to be sure that I'm not in the midst of medical, it's just me and like 4 other people. So it seems like, okay, so majority, that's fine. Which brings me to the first story that I'm going to be telling us today. Sometime in secondary school, I don't remember when exactly, I read this textbook, Intensive English. That story was in Intensive English. And I've been talking about it for quite a while. No one has read this story. It was about a young medical doctor that died from overwork, right? And when I read that story, the next thing that came to my head was, I will never be friends with medical doctors. I don't know why that was the next thing I decided to do. Like, of all things, I just told myself that nothing anybody won't tell me. If you're a medical doctor, I will not be friends with you, right? And I carried that for such a long time. And then fast forward, 2015, I started Africoin Arts. I can see that I am in your midst, right? And that's why I said it's weird that message came in, because, so fast forward 2015, I started my professional career in 2013. But 2015, I decided I wanted to see more faith-based works on stage and on screen. And my mom says things like, create the change you want to see. So I'm like, okay, if I can't see, Mount Zion was the only thing I could see then. So I decided to start Africoin Art. And then I needed the hall for our first production, I could write, so I'd written the stage play, I'd gathered people, I have a gift of gathering people, I can make people do anything. So I gathered people, but we did not have a hall. And then someone said, in my church, speak to Dr. Ibukun. She was a medical doctor there. She was in Lasukon. And then I speak with her. She's like, oh yeah, we have a hall in the hospital. And before you know it, I'm rolling in the middle of medical students and medical doctors. And I'm like, how did we get here? But guess what? For the next 4 years, these medical students, who became medical doctors, were the ones instrumental in helping me push my storytelling abilities. They did everything. They would contribute money, time. And this is very busy medical students, people that exams were choking them right, left, and center, but they would still show up and make sure that, our stage plays. And we did 16 productions in Lagos and Abuja. We were traveling. These guys were traveling with me. And I was mind blown. I was like, what is it with these people? But I'm saying all of this to say, so I read a story and it created an impression in my mind, but I needed an experience in order to change that whole, mindset. I needed an experience. And that tells you the power of stories. It tells you the power of stories. The person who is telling the story is the person that has the power at that time. So what stories are you telling and what stories are you listening to? Dr. Edward is okay. Is enough. There's no need to brag. Right? But yeah, I learned that I've experienced it. In fact, most of my closest friends today are medical doctors. And that's why when your message came in and it was we have a fellowship, medical doctors. I'm like, hey, I never flew from this medical thing. Which brings me also to the fact that the first short film that I made was actually about a medical doctor. So I had to retell that story. I read. I decided to retell it. And I made a short film. I put it on YouTube. It did marvelously well. This was in 2021. And the impact that story made, I cannot go into it right now. So which brings me to, the 4 aspects of storytelling. We have the who, the why, the how, and the what. So I'm starting with the who. Who is the person telling the story? Who are you? Since I'm talking to, people here, I need you to, just take a few things from me. And one of the important things is it's very important that you know who you are. Who you are will determine what it is that you are saying. But if you don't know who you are and what you carry and what it is that you are here for, you will be going to and fro with every wind of doctrine, everything. If they say, now we are with LGBTQ, we'll be like, it'll be like saying, there we did now, no wahala now. If they say, now we want to be killing children, abortion, we'll be like, that sounds intelligent. Let me be over there. But if you know who you are, if you know what your nature is, just like, was it Dr. Because I jotted things down. What's his name? Dr. Abraham, right? Was teaching us yesterday about nature and nurture. If you first of all know that you are like God, and then your nurture is not as important as your nature, though it exists, it's not as important, then the things that make you, you will know them, and you will not be going to and fro. So first of all, who are you? If you don't already know who you are, if you don't already know your identity in Christ and your identity in the world, it will be very difficult for you to be able to communicate effectively. Your messages will be scattered, right? I'd always known, I'm a pastor's kid. My dad is a redeemed pastor. I started my own relationship with God along the way, and I'd always known that I'm meant to carry the gospel of Christ regardless of what it is that I'm doing. So I know that first of all, I'm a child of God, and my responsibility is to push the gospel, push Jesus. So everything I do, it comes out. The first time Desmond Elliott met me in the industry, he just went straight and he said, "Are you a pastor's kid?" That was the first thing he said to me. I can assure you, I did not write it on my head. I did not go ahead and announce. I don't even tell people that I'm a pastor's kid. It was pastor's wife that brought me out like that. But people can tell when you know who you are to show. So that's on the who. On the why. Why are you telling the story that you want to tell? What's the motive? What say used to show our face. They say, what is your motive? Why are you telling that story? People have different motives. People have different reasons why they do stuff. You need to know your reason. For me, the reasons why I tell my story is because I realized that if I don't, nobody else will. Right? And it became important for me to see the stories that I can relate to, because I found that we don't have a lot of it. Negative news flies faster than positive news. Look at the past weekend and Davido's issue and everything. It is everywhere. Banky W and this were everywhere. And then you have people say, I don't think I want to ever marry, because if not so marriage big, I beg. That's the power of storytelling. The story has gone out. People are making decisions based on that story. Why are people with loving relationships and loving marriages not speaking up? Talk about it. Prepare us. Choke us. Let us see how it is. Let us be like, wow, so it is possible to actually have, sweet marriage. It's possible that a man will not cheat. How did all of the men has come and men cheating thing come? It's because that is the story that is prevalent in the airwaves. Men cheating, men not being loyal, men this, men that, right? That's because that's the story that is prevalent. But men that are not doing these things, why would I know they talk now? Make una tell una story now, or is it that you are not really sure whether you are good or not? Is it that you are not? Which brings me back to, if you know who you are, your story will be right. So why are you telling your story? And then there's the how. Decide how you want to tell your story. So there are people that, I don't believe that we are all creative. No, let me take that back, because we're all creative people. You have the power to create because you're like your father, which is God. But you don't have to do it as a job or as a career. Say we are sorry. Apology accepted. But you should do better. Do better. Right? So your how, it could be just the way you live. There's a saying that says that your life may be the Bible that some people will ever read. So what kind of a person are you? What's your character like? When you show up, is it bang-da-da-dank? And is it a good bang-da-da-dank, or is it lion of the tribe has arrived? Nobody can breathe again. You don't have good character.
Sorry, you muted.
Goodness. Oh my goodness, at what point? Hey, wait, I don't talk, go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
At the point of character.
Yes, lovely. Okay, so what is your character like? Are you the kind of person that shows up and everyone is stressed out? Or are you the kind of person that shows up and when you are not around, people are stressed out? What is your character like? Do you love God and love your neighbors, or you are just about loving God and you don't see anybody around you? What is your character like? I've heard a lot about people saying that Christians are usually the worst clients. Christians are usually the worst colleagues. Christians, and that breaks my heart, because I'm like, that shouldn't be the testimony about us. What's going on? Is it that we just know this gospel and it's not showing in our life? And that's why I'm really happy for this kind of conference and for the speakers that have spoken before, telling empathy, compassion, love. If you love, patience, kindness, long-suffering, perseverance, those are the things that will be, you will be kind naturally. They will not be begging you. So what's your character like? Your life may be the Bible that's on you. So how are you telling your story? It could be just by the way you are living. And then you could decide to create content on social media, which is what, so because I write, I act, I produce, I do all of that. It was after doing AfriPoint Out in 2019 that I decided I needed to find another way, a simpler way that would not involve a lot of money and a lot of energy, especially after 2020. 2020 kind of changed, mentality and all. So, and that was what got me to social media. And I decided to tell the story of my mom, from my mom's, because I realized we didn't have a lot of that. Nobody really knows what life is like for the pastor, the pastor's wife, and the kids. And that's because we are not talking. We just take it all in. Just they carry on there. Nobody knows. And you have people out there just attacking and throwing stones because they don't care. They don't know. They don't have anyone to tell them that, So I decided to take that on. That I'm going to show you what life is like. Your pastor is a human being. Your pastor's wife is a human being. Pastor's kids are human beings. Nobody has a blueprint. Everybody is walking in faith and trying things out as they go. Nobody has the complete picture. Live and let live, and carry all of your expectations, put it inside dustbin nylon and throw it away, and allow me to breathe. That is the vision of the pastor's wife this time. Maybe in the middle of it, you now laugh. Good for you. But my mission is to let people know that pastors' wives and the pastor and the kids are as human as every regular person. Maybe then all of us will calm down, and they will not be screaming up and down when you hear something like, you made banky doubly, you cheated. I don't understand. Okay, if he's not a human being, Abi, he didn't have, I'm not saying that is true. I'm just saying, maybe it will not be such a big deal that people will be like, oh, more, I know they go to church again. Are you funny? I don't think anybody should invite me for some conferences because I feel change out. But anyway, peace, be still. Yeah. So decide how. You can create content, you can write a book, you can do a documentary, you can make a movie. Decide how you want to tell the story. Just make sure that you're telling the story. You're telling it in a way that is simple and easy to understand and authentic. You are being honest, be truthful. Nobody can tell the story the way you will. Your POV, your mindset, your perspective, your experiences, no one can tell the story like you can. And then number 4, what story you want to tell, right? Effective communication can only happen when what is being communicated is clear, simple, and out of love. it needs to be clear. It needs to be simple. I have a big deal with people who communicate in ambiguous words, in words that I don't understand what you are saying. What are you saying? You are stressing me out. Life is hard. Make it simple now, right? That is always like an important thing for me. Like what you are saying needs to be simple and it needs to be out of love. If you're already coming from a place of I'm ready to scatter everywhere, if there's no compassion, then naturally the people that are receiving your communication will be on the defensive and there's no communication being done. Everyone is just, we're on the battlefield, right? So what story do you want to tell? What is your story? You need to get it and get it right. It doesn't have to be one story. So while I talk about the pastor's wife with the pastor's wife, I'm also out here advocating for men. I also have that. That's a big deal for me. And that just started in like 2019. I'm out here advocating and fighting for men, trying to understand men so that I can take the message to women and be like, okay, women, this is what men mean. And then I can take the message of women and bring it back to men. I'm like, men, I know you didn't understood, but this is what women are trying to say. It's a big deal for me. And then I have a brother who is deaf. He's hard of hearing, so he's not completely deaf. And I advocate for the deaf community, right? I constantly find myself in situations where I have to speak on behalf of people. So effective communication is actually very important to me because I need to be sure that I am speaking and you are getting me. And then there's also the overall goal of my life, which is to push the gospel, push Jesus and let him do what he's going to do. But first I will push him. Then anything he now wants to do, it's now over to him. I'm not out here trying to drag his glory. But will I talk about him? Yes. Will I push him? Yes. Right? And all of that, just like, what's her name now? Dr. Rina Etanga said that the Holy Spirit is a cheat code. In everything, the Holy Spirit, is needed in order to make all of this happen seamlessly. Just like last 2 months, God was telling me that, oh, you know what? Am I done? I have 5 minutes more. When was it sent? 10:20. Okay. Thank you. The Holy Spirit was telling me that I am the creative person. God was saying, I am the creative. And everything that you are doing is just, you are taking from me. I am the source. Don't ever forget it, right? Because the tendency to forget is very strong. So I say all of that to say that we may not all be creatives in the sense of career or what it is that we put out, but we all must become storytellers. You need to go within and bring out, your ability to tell stories. It will help you as a professional. It will help you as a human being. And when in a world that content is king, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of people pushing their own narratives and their own stories. So add your own. Push your own. Make sure that people are getting to know you and your experiences. You never know. Dr. Rina's story just helped me. Like she said a few times, I had to jot things down. She doesn't know the things that she had shared that, resonated with me. But what is important is that she shared it. And I have taken what it is that I need to take from it. And that's how it is. For every time that you share, for every time that you tell your story, you are making an impact. Now, what is important is what kind of impact are you making? Thank you very much for this opportunity. God bless you all. God help you. And that's it. Bye.